Alfredo, you in particular, you wrote a book on the strategy behind autocratic regimes. So I wonder if you want to start on this one, on some of the tactics that authoritarian regimes are using, that the Maduro regime is using in your country to kind of dismantle and co-opt the institutions of democracy.
Yes, well, thank you for that question, because actually, what I believe, this is a new, I mean, talking about the strategy, the new strategy of these dictatorial regimes is actually to use the judicial system as a facade in order to show the international community that, for example, when a political prisoner is being incarcerated, or when somebody that is protesting or demonstrating is incarcerated, he's not, or she's not, someone that is demonstrating democratically and defending his or her human rights. It's because it's someone that is a terrorist or is a criminal, and they use the judicial system, these institutions, in order to send the world a message, or to tell the world, to tell the international organizations that actually what they're doing is justice, that they don't have responsibility of what this independent judge did against this specific person. And this is not the truth. I work every day with the courts and with all these kind of issues, and I'm totally sure that nobody's independent here. And the judges take a decision to incarcerate someone on pretrial detention for years. I mean, without conviction, just because they wait for someone to call them and tell what to do. And this is very important, because I still, after many years looking at the same thing and denouncing the same thing, they still, some people in the international community, or some diplomats, just to call it that way, still believing or presenting this situation as an excuse not to get involved in, for example, on a political prisoner is in jail or is suffering of torture or whatever. And this is, I think, extremely important. Look, and of course, this is a very long discussion, but I believe there is something that, for example, in Venezuela, the government has succeed, and I'm sure it happened because I know the situation in Cuba and in Nicaragua, for example, and a little bit in Russia and maybe China, but they actually the diplomats play the same game. For example, with the political prisoners. Political prisoners are in jail and they become hostages. They become bargaining chips for political reasons. And they use, as I said in my book, as you referred to, and thank you to refer to that big paper, they use the political prisoners in order to get some benefits from the international community. They use political prisoners, they use this game, what I call the revolving door effect. So they incarcerate and scarcerate, they release and they free people, and they then imprison others in order to use these people as bargaining chips. So you will see the same situation happening in China, Cuba, Russia, Nicaragua. So whenever diplomats come to negotiate and try to solve the problem politically in Venezuela, they will always use the political prisoners in order to say, okay, I will release them. And this is a gesture in order to tell the world that, I'm doing the right thing. And this word, I don't know if you guys that are working also in human rights, you have heard this word many times. I've heard from diplomats this word many times, a gesture. And they ask me, Alfredo, what do you think is a good gesture of the government if they release people? 40 political prisoners, 100, 110. And I always say, right now in Venezuela, there are 269 political prisoners and more than 9,000 people that were released, but they're still with restrictions of the freedom. And I always say, come on, how you would ask me about a gesture I mean, you have to release everyone. How you will negotiate with a government that is using the same game all the time, and when they release some, they will get some kind of good, I mean, I don't know if it's the word, but message from the world that they're doing the right thing, and they do incarcerate the same ones the next week. I mean, the same amount of people that they release. And this is a really something that is happening. So institutions, again, are a good facade, and it's not like before in the past that dictatorial regimes are just doing things without protecting themselves by the rule of law, their own rule of law that they always use to excuse or to justify their repression or political repression.